Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Orange and Brew Podcast, the podcast where we married our two favorite pastimes, the Denver Broncos and beer. I am JT Matthews at JTMatthews01 on Twitter, and I am with the doctor, Nicholas Manning at DR_and Manning on Twitter as well. What is up, Doc? It is early in the week. We've got a day off coming up. I need a day off. I could use the day off. I think we could all use a day off.
Yeah, I actually just came back from camping and still could use the day off.
Yeah.
It's
like traveling with kids.
And camping, camping's fun. I envy you if you sleep well camping. Like if people like deep, unless you have like a $200 blow up mattress with foam, like I don't know how people do it. Not like it was awful every single night. One of my children had a bug or something, so he was like hacking on. It was not great, but we had a good time. I was able to get a good workout in. Apparently, when you don't work out for 3 days, you forget. So my body was frustrated, to say the least, but made it through. And you know what? Short compacted week this week, and it is also my birth month. So you're welcome.
Hey, we're finally there. We finally made it to the month.
We did. 11 months in the making.
You ready for some grilled meat tomorrow? That's what I'm ready for.
I am. I left some room in my arteries just for tomorrow. So yeah.
What's your like go-to cookout food? I mean, like if you got to pick. I mean, steak. It's a steak? Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, is it as simple as a cheeseburger? You know, some people love cheeseburger, and I love a cheeseburger too. But I don't know if I'd take a cheeseburger over a steak.
I wouldn't take a cheeseburger over a steak, but I will not complain with a cheeseburger. I will take a cheeseburger with hot dogs. You know me, so I cut the hot dog in half, put it on top of the cheeseburger, stack me a cholesterol sandwich, and I go to town.
All in one.
I like
it. I like your strat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like a good cheeseburger. I think I when we did keto, I kind of got staked out weirdly. Like I didn't think that was a possibility. Like when we went heavy keto, I mean, now we do it periodically to help us not be terrible people. But when we were doing it for like 9 months straight, it was like, I kind of am sick of steak. And so, I mean, but I ate cheeseburgers too, so I don't know what the difference is in my mind. But there's some sort of block that's still there. But I know, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm probably picking a steak. I think I'm back on team steak after being off for a little bit.
Yeah, because you have to have multiple ways to cook a steak, and I'm not a chef.
Sure. I just grilled it every time.
Right. So it's like if you don't know a whole bunch of different ways to season it, smoke, like all that stuff, then everything will taste like in the end, a cheeseburger. There's only so many ways you can just cook a cheeseburger. Yeah. Like it's probably just going to taste the same for the most part.
So I do want to try some of those smash burgers. I'm going to try and grill some of those sometime, or like pan fry some of them, because I like the kind of the thin, crispier patty. I think it's kind of fun.
Okay. Apparently, there's at least one other way to cook it.
Okay, there's one. Yes, that's the one I know. I mean, there's other ways, but it's a matter of like want to. And when you already know how to do something and it's a solid product, it's like, do I really want to deviate just for a slightly better product and twice the work? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, especially for a cheeseburger. In the end, it's all about the meat. Throw some seasoning, good cheese on it. It's gonna be all right. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Right. Needless to say, we're gonna get our beer, we're gonna get our grilled meat, and we're gonna be happy.
That's true.
And other things that make us happy are the Denver Broncos. So let's talk about them.
Yeah. Well, do they always make us happy?
Conceptually, they always make me happy.
Over my lifespan.
Yes.
The Denver Broncos and the sport of football has made me happy. Recent success, nonetheless, or lack thereof. What did I get? But talking Broncos, regardless. That's enjoyable.
It's kind of, the thing about being a sports fan is even if your team's not in it and it's a sport you really like, you can still enjoy the product.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously you enjoy it less, but like NFL, I think most people at least can watch a game that's not their team and still enjoy it.
Right.
I don't know that that's true for the other major sports. Most of the time, you get a lot of I'm sure there were Nuggets fans that jumped on the bandwagon that enjoy the game, but I think for the most part, they're there to watch their team, and if their team's not on, they're not interested. So at least we have the appreciation of the game, even though our team has sucked.
Okay. Yep. I will not say it better than that. Yep. And just NFL is year round, right? And there's always something to talk about. If your team is terrible, then you're looking at the draft the next year already, right? Like, what prospect can we get to turn it around? Because every year, like clockwork, half of the playoff field flips. So there's, it is the most even and comparable league in professional sports that there is right now. So there's always hope. It could be as soon as next season versus baseball. I don't know how long it'll be before the Rockies are good again. I have no idea.
Yeah, no.
It's even if you have a plan, it's like 2 or 3 years, and we'll see. We'll see. But we're going to talk about the Broncos.
Yes.
I'll kick it back to you after I derailed us again.
No, it's fine. I totally derailed it. We're going to talk about the Broncos offense specifically. An article was written on NFL Network by Bucky Brooks. He's been there for a minute now. Good old Bucky. I think he's is he one of their senior writers now? Do you know?
Yeah, Bucky's a former player. I think a really sound NFL mind. I really like Bucky. I think he's a good follow breed, a good analyst. A good analyst. There we go.
He seems pretty even keel. He's not a hot take guy. He's let's dig in, get to the bottom of the numbers. I like that. The hot take guys get a little old, but Bucky isn't one of those guys. So we'll jump into this. So in 2022, the Broncos scoring offense was 32nd in the league, and in 2022, their total offense was 21st in the league. And Bucky basically, if you just read the little piece about the Broncos is saying, with the addition of Coach Payton, that this offense should take an uptick. He likes to create mismatches, which we've talked about on the pod before. He's a very strong offensive mind as far as scheming and coming up with ways to get the ball where he wants it on the field and into the hands of the players that'll be most impactful. And also he mentions the potential more balanced rushing passing attack. What did you think overall just of Bucky's analysis of, the upside and potential of the Broncos in the next season, potentially being one of the most, if not the most improved offense?
That's good. In essence, it's the Sean Payton bump.
Right.
When you watched last year, the Broncos had no rhyme or reason to whatever they were doing.
Yes.
On offense specifically. So I do think that they'll be improved. That list it's a little given, right? It's like the 4 worst offenses in the league. It's like you get Aaron Rodgers, one gets Sean Payton. I think that the Broncos will be improved. How far will they be improved? I think that's the question.
Right.
Will they?
The biggest bar that you see in that article is 32nd in scoring offense. Like that's got to be improved, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. So I think it's reasonable. So last year the Broncos finished. Let's see, they finished around like 21st in scoring, or in total offense. They were last in scoring offense. So it's one of those like you can't go anywhere but up, essentially. Like you can't
Right.
get worse than last in scoring offense. So if they jump to middle of the pack, I think we talked a little bit about this after the season. It's still only like 21, 22 points a game, which if you didn't know how bad the Broncos offense was last year, that doesn't seem that difficult to get.
Right.
Sean Payton's offenses typically have been anywhere from 23 to 26 points a game, which is pretty good. So my feeling is, I think the Broncos will be top half to say the least.
Okay.
I really do, and let me take a little bit of a look here as to why. So last year, the top scoring offenses in the league were not defenses, offenses. So let's see, best offenses last year: the Chiefs, the Eagles in terms of touchdowns. Chiefs, Eagles, Lions, Bills, Cowboys, 49ers, Vikings, Bengals. Just kind of like round out the top. I think that, and then the next wave is the Dolphins, Seahawks, Jaguars, Chargers. I think that the Broncos can realistically be in that area. Essentially, to get there, they'd have to get 25 receiving touchdowns, passing touchdowns, etc. Right? You got to get into that range.
Right.
With 15 to 16 rushing touchdowns. And you have an influx to which direction that you want. Obviously, more passing touchdowns, less rushing touchdowns, whatever the makeup might be. And I think that just is typical for what the Broncos will look at. So in Sean Payton's last year, mind you, with kind of a depleted group of quarterback play, he had a pretty diverse play calling, but they ended up with 43 touchdowns. So 29 passing touchdowns, 12 rushing touchdowns with Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill, and Jameis Winston, my guy, right? So I think that is, I think it's fairly reasonable. The year before, they finished third in touchdowns with 59. So they had 30 rushing touchdowns, 28 passing touchdowns. I think something more tilted that way will be what the Broncos will look like this year. I think there'll be a team that will emphasize the run. We saw that with the effort that they made in bringing in McGlinchey and Ben Powers, along with Mannertz at tight end, and bringing Adam Troutman, who is a pretty well-rounded, good blocking tight end.
Yeah.
And a fullback, so that to me would be the elixir. And I think in doing that and being able to stay away from some third downs or getting third and manageable, I think that the Broncos will improve. I think that they will get. I don't want to get overzealous. I think we all did last year, right? Like
yes, absolutely.
How good can they be? I think that they can be, top end of the middle of the pack kind of thing. So okay. I think if they're anywhere from 10 to 16. With as good as the defense was, minimize mistakes, improved special teams play, I think that that's a reasonable recipe to assume new offense, all that stuff, and a meteoric rise in year one of Sean Payton's time. I think isn't fair. But remember, the team that he took over in 2006 was hot garbage.
Yeah.
They were 3-13, right? The number 2 pick in the draft. And they went 10-6 and their offense was phenomenal. So I can't say it won't happen, but I think using your pessimistic point of view, that's kind of what I would go for. So
yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, one, by most improved, like the biggest jump, so more than the Jets, who were just as bad last year with Zach, the MILF Hunter Wilson.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. As well as some more pedestrian Chicago Bears he had listed, who really struggled, especially kind of in red zone, 23 in scoring, 28 in yards some big key additions. And one I do like is the Steelers on that list. My guy, Kenny Pickett. I really like Kenny Pickett. Small
Me
hands.
too.
And I think another year of George Pickens, who is a phenomenal player. Thought Pat Fairmouth was a nice breakout addition. You add Allen Robinson with Deontay Johnson. I think they have a nice mesh. And they address that tight end or the offensive line room with Broderick Jones, who's a really nice first round pick at tackle, and then a couple additions along that line. Do you think the Broncos will be better than those? Because 3 of them are in the AFC. They're probably vying for playoff positioning. What's your thoughts?
I'm struggling because I think the thing that I'm feeling about, I think when you bring up those teams specifically, I think of at least one dynamic offensive weapon on each of their teams. And I feel like looking at the Broncos roster, it's a little one note. And that bothers me a little bit. I feel like our receivers, the ones that are proven, do kind of the same thing. I would say Jerry Jeudy's probably the little bit of a difference in there, just because he tends to separate with his route running. Mm-hmm. But, I think the guys that you're going to count on, I mean, if you're looking at our depth chart, Sutton, Tim Patrick, and we'll say Marquez Callaway are your next 3. I feel like they're very similar games. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a depth piece that's good. But I mean, I look at the Jets and I look at their offense and I say, well, obviously Aaron Rodgers will improve them. Okay. Garrett Wilson, huge upside. I think dynamic playmaker. He was my wide receiver 1 in that draft class. I think he still can do great things. A guy like Breece Hall was doing great and looked dynamic until he hurt himself. Those are guys you look at on that team. I think, the Bears struggle a little bit more, but I think the Justin Fields thing, I mean, at least he's a dynamic playmaker. He may not be the best quarterback, but dynamic playmaker can make plays out of nothing, especially on a team that's been very mid to low on offense. And the Steelers, I still think you look at that team and you say, Kenny Pickett, huge upside. Najee Harris, had a down year, but still is a big part of that offense, can be really productive. And a guy like Deontay Johnson and George Pickett, I feel like are dynamic playmakers. And so I guess I would lean towards those teams taking a bigger jump. At least some of those players taking big jumps, which would equate to the team improving overall. I don't feel like we have that. I don't feel like we have that one player I look at and say, this is the year that if this player elevates their offense, then our offense takes that next step. And that's what worries me. Even the running back room, I'm rooting for a guy like Jaleel McLaughlin to really put his stamp on training camp and be a change of pace back, because I feel like, Javonte and P. Ryan are similar in their play style. I think Javonte obviously has more upside in playmaking ability, but it's a little one note and it makes me nervous.
Yeah, I mean, you're relying solely on Sean Payton.
And that's the thing too, right? It's like Sean Payton. I think you look at other sports and a good coach can make a huge difference, but I don't know that they can make you. I don't know how far the gap is that they can bump you to that next level. I think football is one. There's so many players, and I think you have to have a scheme. And the thing that I'm excited about with Sean Payton versus Nathaniel Hackett, I think it felt very much improvisational at times with Nathaniel Hackett. Like, we'll get there and we'll figure it out as we go. And I think we lacked kind of a script to how some of these games would go last year. And I don't think we'll run into that issue with Sean Payton. So I'm optimistic. I think it will equate to wins. I want to know. I'm interested to figure out how many it will actually equate to, though, at the end of the day, with the talent that you have on the roster. Do you think that the bump can be that big? Do you feel like a coach, obviously we're going from probably an F grade coach to an A grade coach. Is that enough to get your team over the hump? Is that enough? And if it does get your team over the hump, then is it enough to make your team a competitor once they get there?
Yeah, here's the example that I got. So 2016 Los Angeles Rams 4-12 with Jeff Fisher as the coach.
Mm-hmm.
They were 32nd in points, 32nd in yards. Oh no, sorry. Yep. And then defensively, we're kind of middle of the pack.
Sure.
Essentially, the exact same group. I do think Cooper Kupp was added in the 3rd round, if I recall.
Yeah.
The next season, they went 11-5, 1st in points, 10th in yards. Okay. So, and essentially the defense actually played worse. They gave up more yards that year. But the offense, from worst to first. So that to me is kind of like one example of really just adjusting the play calling, the offensive strategy, which there really wasn't
right
when it came to Jeff Fisher. So I think there can be a significant jump by just adding that. I also believe that Russ Wilson is not cooked.
Yeah.
I think that he can cook within the structure of what they do. From what we talked about, it sounds like he's committed to being able to be that dude. So I think he can. I think that the offense really, overall, you get an upgrade on the offensive line with those 2 additions, in my opinion, and you also bring in, you get healthy guys back. Javonte wasn't here for most of the year. Tim Patrick was out. Garrett Bowles missed all but 5 games, if I do recall. KJ Hamler, I don't remember how many games he played, but not much. Not effectively. Jerry Jeudy missed some time. Court missed some time. Samaje Perine, I think, is a much more reliable back than Melvin Gordon was.
Yep.
And Cush, Cush missed 5, 6, 7, 8 games, something. He missed a good chunk. So, and Quinn Minor started on the on the injury. So, just offensively, I guess you could just do like them all coming back at some version of health is key offensive additions.
Yep.
Just healthy. Like if you looked at who they finished with last year in that final 2 games when their offense looked really good to who they're going to try out in week 1.
Right.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good offseason of additions by really only adding like 2 guys.
Yeah. It's going to come down to Russ and what level he's able to elevate to. If he's able to kind of reach maybe not peak Russ, but something close to peak Russ. Because, this team I like the talent on this team. I don't know, in talking it through, I don't know that I love the upside of talent on this team, especially the offense. But I like the talent that we have, and I like the depth that we have. And I think that having those vets and guys who have been in the league for a minute and what to expect from them is a positive thing for a coach like Sean Payton that he can come in and use. But it's just, it's going to come down to Russ. It's going to come down to what I think Russ seems committed to wanting to reach, those peak Russ season performances, with his off season working out. It seems like everyone's a little more locked in. It feels a little less like a publicity stunt or show that's on Twitter all the time. I think that's all positive. I think for this team to be, competing for a Super Bowl, which is what we want from them, we've got to see Russ reach kind of those next levels. And he's just getting older, and it makes me a little bit nervous. I think we came in and expected Russ to be Russ. And when he wasn't, it got a lot of people worried and scared about the investment the Broncos made. And so I want to see more than anything. I want to see Russ put up some Russ-like numbers, efficient, hitting those deep shots that he's known for. minimizing the turnovers and just locked in. And I think that's going to be the biggest determining factor. As much as I think Peyton is going to help, and he will 100% will help. There's a lot of pressure on Russ, I think, and the more that I think about it, the more pressure that, if it doesn't work with a new coaching regime 2 years in a row, you're going to lose a lot of faith. You're going to lose a lot of hope from the fans. I think people are willing to go into this season and say, all right, coaching staff last year, it was a bit of an anomaly year. Like, you expected some sort of improvement with that coaching change. There wasn't. So maybe that's the outlier, and maybe what Russ isn't raw washed. But I think there's a lot of doubt there, and I think it's crept in for me. As much as I like Russ and I think he will have a bounce back season, I wouldn't necessarily put money on it right now. And that makes me nervous.
Ooh, see, I would put money on.
Good. I'm glad because I think I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible, but I think that I've definitely leaned more skeptical, and we've talked. I mean, this is well developed on the podcast that I'm the more skeptical. I wouldn't even say more skeptical, but less optimistic of the two.
Yeah.
But I think that my outlook doesn't mean anything, right? At the end of the day, you need people in place that are going to get to work, do their job, and I think that they have those guys in place. I'm just choosing to hedge my bets, and I'm glad that you're not.
Hedging isn't bad. Russ, if you looked at the first game of the year last year, when there was a plan, right? They had game plan that, if there aren't 2 fumbles at the 1 yard line, who knows what the year looks like?
Right. Totally.
And maybe there's a little bit more commitment to the run, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. And the last 2 games, when there was cohesion in the play calling and Russ was doing the things that Russ was good at, I mean, it was a good grouping of offense. So I think you will get much more of those versions than before. Sorry for my ums, but I agree with you that there's pressure. There's pressure on Russ, because essentially now you have a Hall of Fame head coach with power and clout. And if you didn't do it the last regime, Seattle got rid of you. You didn't do it with the last regime, can't do it with this one. Then Russ is cooked, and he's no longer cooking.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, if you can't make it work here, you basically, I mean, we knew he wanted out, right? I mean, there were whisperings for a long time that he and Pete Carroll had kind of lost their connectivity as far as what they wanted to happen on the field. And I think that's damning for Russ too, is that he left and Seattle kept rolling. They kept rolling with a guy that historically hasn't had starting caliber season as a quarterback. And so, maybe it's like, oh, now, Tom Brady walks away and you say, oh, maybe he's not a system, or maybe he was just a system guy. He at least went out and proved, I can win in a different system with different guys. Russ has been in that same system. You unplug him from that system and he's floundered. And now you just hope that we can find some semblance of what he had in Seattle, which is the thing he didn't really want. He didn't want to be in Seattle. He didn't want a heavy passing or a rushing game. He wanted to be able to throw the ball around a little bit more, to utilize the weapons on offense a little bit more than he felt like they had been utilizing. And so it's just, like you said, you take him out of that system, he fails. And if he can't bounce back with a high caliber coach this year, then you're left really wondering what the future looks like for Russ in this league. And I mean, on this team first and foremost, but then beyond that in this league, it's a little scary. I've gone down a rabbit hole, so I apologize. It was such a risk to go after Russ, after all of the Aaron Rodgers stuff. And it felt like a slam dunk at the time, I think, to Broncos fans, because we had nothing at the quarterback position. But really, you're paying a lot of money to a guy that now has not proved that he can do it outside of that system. And you gave up first round pick assets that maybe could have turned into your future. And it's a lot. It's a lot for this offense. As far as bouncing back, I think they will bounce back. I don't know that they'll be the most improved offense, but I anticipate an improvement. I mean, like you said, 30-second scoring offense. Can you be that bad again with
it's hard to go down?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, think about too. They were, let's see. So that 29.1% in third down conversions. So they were dead last there. I mean, there's just stat after stat that would show you the concern. And even, Brett Rippon came in, whatever we want to say about Brett, his numbers essentially looked the same with more interceptions than Russ did. So, I mean, he only threw for like 100 yards a game. But that's not true. He threw for like 200 yards a game. Yeah. But, what's the key, the common denominator between those two? And I think that says a ton. And there's some concerns there from penalties, right? I mean, they were one of the most penalized team.
Yeah.
In the NFL, et cetera. So you add all of those things, and I think that will really adjust how good this offense can be.
Yeah. I think the good thing is we both feel like it'll be improved. Will it be most improved? Remains to be seen. I think you feel that they could. And I feel like they could. It's just going to be so dependent on Russ, at the end of the day. I think let's transition because I'm thirsty, and it is beer time.
It is.
Woo! Frank the Tank,
always
delivering us into beer time with enthusiasm. That's what we need.
I don't know when it'll get old.
It hasn't yet, for sure.
I don't know when I'm not.
We're gonna keep running with it until it gets old, and I'm guessing it'll be a long while.
Yeah, me too.
Because who doesn't love Will Ferrell?
Right.
Crazy, maybe sociopaths. What are we drinking today, Doc?
So we got from our friends at the Blue Moon Brewing Company here in Colorado, established in yesteryear, 1995. I am older than Blue Moon. That sucks. It's called a Fresh New Voyage. That's a craft lager.
A hazy new voyage.
A hazy. Crisp and refreshing. Lemon drop hops.
Oh.
So about that a little bit. Lighter beer in terms of ABV, so 4.7 ABV. And encourage that we celebrate responsibly.
Yes. They're on Chestnut Place in Denver. The Rhino District, which is up and coming, has a lot of cool establishments over there. So get over there and check out Blue Moon. And Blue Moon, obviously, we know Blue Moon, the beer, the Blue Moon Brewing Company is owned by Coors. So this is a Coors product, just one of their little side projects. So it's always nice to get.
Blue Moon start that way. I recall, because I think I met the son of the guy who started Blue Moon. Maybe. No, it was Fat Tire.
Oh yeah. I mean, those are pretty those are like the two most. Yeah. At least they had periods here where it was like Blue Moon, Fat Tire, pretty much anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm with you though. So yeah, it just says a Blue Moon Brewing Company. Everything we do starts with creative inspiration. Blue Moon originated in Denver in 1995 with the first brew of Belgian-style wheat ale taking place in the Sandlot Brewery at Coors Field. So this was a Coors Field original beer, which is pretty cool. Belgian White provided a refreshingly creative take on the classic Belgian wit and has since been the inspiration for us to continue to push creative boundaries ever since. And this hazy new voyage, juicy and tropical, brewed with whole oranges. So this thing's, if it's got lemon drop hops, which I'm guessing has to be citrusy. I don't know. I've never had it. At least not that I'm aware of. And whole oranges. I mean, this is going to be juicy. It says juicy. We'll see if it's a liar or if it holds up its end of the bargain. We've dealt with many liars on the show. And 7%. So that's a perk too. Ready to pop these babies open.
Let's go.
All right, 3, 2, 1. I looked like upset. I was looking at my face when I was popping it, and I looked angry about it, but I'm not. I'm happy. Smells good. Smells orangey.
Yeah.
Hopefully that toothpaste flavors out of my mouth because it could get a little bitter. Cheers.
Cheers.
A little toothpaste in there still. Ooh, got to get through that initial. Hold on. I'm going to take like 3 drinks because I got to cleanse the palate, so to speak.
I don't really taste that.
Oh, he's going in for another one.
I don't really taste this. Do you?
I taste orange. It might just be like extra stress because of the toothpaste, but I taste orange.
Yeah, it's just like a little bit, but not a lot. No,
I guess I don't know what lemon hop. I'm gonna look up lemon drop hops, and see what it's supposed to infuse in there because I'm not getting any
actually, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't taste like orange to me. Maybe it does taste more lemony.
You think more like lemony?
I don't know. It's hard.
I know.
I don't know.
There's like a weird little middle point where you're like, okay, I'm starting to taste it, and then it kind of shifts on you. And I think it's like, it's very hoppy. I mean, it's definitely bitter. Your typical IPA is pretty hop heavy. This one is the same, but I don't know. I'm left searching for something, and I had no idea what it is. I don't know. Do you know?
Mm-mm.
I'm looking up these lemon drop hops too. It says lemon drop offers unique lemon citrus character with a pleasant aroma. I didn't get man, it's so confusing. I'm just gonna say, for me, it's a small dub. It mostly does what it says it's gonna do. It leaves me a little confused. I think if I was just drinking it and not thinking about it, though, I'd be like, all right, this is fine. You know what I mean? I'm like thinking about it too hard now, and I want to dock it for that. But I think just for drinking enjoyment, it's fine. It's fine. It's small dub. You're leaning the other way on me?
Let me give it a small L.
Okay. All right.
I just don't think it's that good.
No one wants a podcast where we all agree about everything.
I just don't think it's that good. I tried it's just not.
It's fair. You thought about it. We thought more about this one than we did a lot of beers. And I think you gave it a fair shot. And
I did. I took like 5 sips. I tried.
Yeah. I think I'll stick with the original Blue Moon.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because we didn't have a peel in there. Maybe you needed that to accentuate that drink.
Needed that extra extra orange slice.
Maybe.
I
have some oranges. You know what? When we're done, I'm gonna go cut up an orange and I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, pour it in a glass, throw an orange slice in there, and see if it changes anything for you.
Yeah.
Report later.
I will. I'll report back.
Okay, perfect. That's it for beer time. So let's cut back to Broncos talk right now.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
To see the loading bar is a little slow today on our little graphics. Funny. All right, we're going to talk about some Broncos betting odds right now. I posted in our Twitter chat earlier. The Clutch Bet Twitter handle at Clutch Bet SB had the Broncos at making the playoffs at a plus 190 and missing the playoffs at a minus 244. We've since corroborated those numbers about the same on a few different sports books. Let's start with that one. Would you take that bet? Plus, I mean, you're plus money. You know, if you feel strongly, and we did our schedule prediction, and we had them at over making the playoffs. You know, at a win amount that you should make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Would you take this bet?
I would. I'm gonna.
Are you gonna? Are you gonna get on there?
MGM has plus 200. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna throw one in.
Yeah.
I'm bullish. I think that they'll make the playoffs. I think. I think the AFC North is going to be a lot tougher. So yeah. I think that group is going to struggle, beating each other up. I think Cleveland, sadly, will be better. I think obviously Baltimore will be better. Cincinnati has been good, and then I think Tennessee's terrible. I think Indy will struggle. I think Houston will struggle. They might be better, more competitive, but I think all of those teams will not be very good. I think Jacksonville will be the upper echelon, and they won last year, so they're going to get some of that more difficult schedule. I just, and I'm not a Patriots fan in terms of I don't think Mac Jones is that great. So, really, I think you're competing with the Dolphins, the Jets, the Ravens, the Browns, and the Chargers to get in the playoffs. And the Chargers have chargered, and who knows what the North will do to each other. And then Tua's health. Without Tua, they'll tank.
Right. And
I don't know what Aaron Rodgers will bring for the Jets. So we'll kind of see. Yeah, it really is. He has to be better than Zach Wilson. But there were some games where Joe Flacco was lighting it up, and
that's true.
They still were not very good in terms of offensive football. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like for them. But I think the Broncos have a really good shot at making the playoffs. I think it's a pretty good bet to be able to make.
Yeah, I would take the bet. I would take it. I don't know that I'd go crazy with it, but I would put a few bucks on it. I think we've done our schedule prediction. We both came up over, at least at a number where they could make the playoffs as a wild card team specifically. But, that would be right in the conversation. I think Peyton makes your offense at least 2 games better. You get 2 more wins at least. So I would take the bet. Let's talk about some bets along those lines still though. Let's see how optimistic we'll get about this Denver's team right now. So we don't have to do this one though, because regular season wins for the Broncos at 8.5, over under 8.5. I'm guessing we'll both take the over on that.
Yep, and if you can parlay that out with making the the playoffs, you're setting yourself up pretty good.
Yeah, you get some extra plus money. Yeah. Let's see. AFC West winner. Broncos are plus 550. That's the third best odds. They have KC at minus 165, which is pretty strong. LA Chargers at plus 340. Denver Broncos at 550 and Raiders at 1,200. Would you bet plus 550 that the Broncos could win the division? Not just like on a flyer, but feel okay about your chances.
No, I'd take a flyer. Kansas City essentially is running it back.
Yeah.
Right. And it's hard until you knock off the champ. I'm not going to be too bullish on that. I think being able to compete with the guys in the next tier, the Chargers and the Raiders, I think is more appropriate. The Chiefs are a really good football team, really well coached with the best player on the planet. So I think until you knock them off to go ham on that. However, plus you said 550.
It's 550. I mean, that's good. That's good.
Especially if you knock out that parlay and you say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna bet a hundo that they'll go the over and wins, that they'll make the playoffs and they'll win the division. Which obviously, if you win the division, make playoffs. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice ticket. I might do that. I might just throw like 25 on that and just see how it goes. I don't see that happening, and I think that'd be hard to forecast because you haven't had Russ Wilson in this offense to be able to know that he'll be better.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I don't think I'd put money on it, but it is an enticing number, especially if you think the Chargers are frauds, and they might be. We'll see. A few more here. Here's a plus 450 to lose in wild card round. Plus 1,000 to lose in divisional round. Plus 2,200 to lose conference championship game. Which one of those would you be most likely to take? Lose in wild card, lose in divisional, lose in championship.
It's hard because I think if the Broncos win, their running game and defense will be huge, and that goes in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
So could they go to maybe? I think it's more likely that they'll be ousted in the first round. I think.
Yeah.
Maybe just getting the monkey off your back a little bit and getting in there would satisfy a lot of that roster. And maybe they would just be happy to be there. But however, the Jaguars did something similar, right? I mean, they really no success. They kind of turned it on at the end, had a great comeback, won against the Chargers, and played a pretty valiant effort against the Chiefs on the road. So I think the most likely is probably one and done. I would not be shocked, and I actually think that they can make it to the divisional round because of those two things. I think if they make the playoffs, it's because their defense is playing really well and they're running the ball. And if they're doing that, then Russ, that's the best version of Russ, because then he can, play action. We know that, and his ability to be able to get out of the pocket and make some plays, picking up some critical third downs, that kind of stuff. So I think if they get to the playoffs, I think they can snag a game. And that's the way I would lean. Not that I would feel real good about it.
Right.
Championship. I don't think that to say that they're in the same neck of the woods with Cincinnati or with Buffalo right now or with Kansas City. I think it's hard. It's hard to catch up.
How bad would it be to make the playoffs for the first time in a long time and then have to play Kansas City?
I think that'd be great.
Or the 2 seed. You think it'd be fun? I would. I mean, because I was just.
It would be great because
I'm assuming it would be a win.
Yeah, I think it's the team that you'd be familiar with.
Right.
It probably means you beat them once, right? Maybe you shake them up a little bit.
Maybe.
And so I think that would be better than, maybe going to like Baltimore.
Okay.
East Coast trip, cold, team that's really unique in what they present. Things like that. Not that game would be easier than Kansas City. I think.
Sure.
I think under the circumstances, if the Broncos made the playoffs, it would be hard for me to believe that they didn't beat Kansas City once. So I think if you do that, then then you have a pretty good opportunity to go there and win. I would love it as a fan. Like, all right, like, hey, we're back, and now we have an opportunity, just like the Broncos of yesteryear, right? They had to go to Kansas City. On the road and beat them before going to Pittsburgh and playing them on the road to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, I like it. Divisional matchups in the playoffs are, all those Ravens Steelers games. I think that's great. That's great stuff.
It's good. I just would like to feel like we would be on the not the underdog. I'd like to think that we felt like we had a fighting chance. I think if you get there, you always feel like you have a fighting chance. But I don't know, to get ousted by a team that's, the last 5 or 6 years has just dominated you. It makes you feel like oh man, we made it, but now we're gonna get stomped by the same team that's been stomping us for half a decade. But where are rivalries made? Like that's where rivalries are really made. I mean, you get those divisional games every year, so the rivalry is naturally there. But you get those playoff matchups, and you'll see what those. I mean, no one will give them a better shot than an underdog divisional team. No one's going to give Kansas City more effort, at least in a game, than I think the Broncos would if they were to get that matchup. But it scares me, man. It would make me nervous for sure. I would be going back to my natural pessimistic state of mind.
Yeah,
as I am already.
It'd be kind of playing with house money, right? Like,
right, that's true.
You're expected to lose. Maybe you've won 1 out of the last 17, right? Whatever that number would be. But it's the first time that again, this season where you've had a comparable head coach since Gary Kubiak left. I mean, that's hard. I mean, it's, and who knows what bump that'll get. And once you get into the playoffs, you've seen, Joe Burrow go there and get the win and almost get another one. Trevor Lawrence went in there and played really well on the road. So, and Russ Wilson changed his game up a little bit last year on the road against a Kansas City team who needed it. And that was a really gutsy outing for that team. So I think it'd be good. They haven't had a ton of success in Baltimore. And so, a team like that one worries me a little bit more, that East Coast kind of trip.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. If they went to go play, the Jets, because the Jets turned it around, or Buffalo on the road in January, that would be even worse, in my opinion, just for the sake of travel, the lack of familiarity, some of those kind of things. That said, they do play all of those teams essentially this year. So they play Cleveland, they play the Jets, they play the Bills, they play the Dolphins, right? You get that. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's more of I'd rather get someone with a fresh perspective where you don't have that, so you can just go play football. But as a fan, I think it would be kind of fun to knock off the team that's had your card for a while.
If you can pull it off, there's no better feeling, right? But you just got to feel like you got to be able to pull it off, and that's the scary part.
That is true. But for a team that hasn't pulled off much ever, right now, it's like, just get into the dance, man. Just get into the dance.
Let's get there. We'll worry about our opponent.
We'll worry about it when we get there. Yep. And, as a Florida State fan, this last year's basketball team was not good. So I'm not gonna, I don't care what seed they are. Just get to the dance, bro. Just get to the dance.
Mm-hmm. And this season in NCAA, it just shows if you get there, you got a chance. There were no huge, tons of huge upsets this year in the dance. So, and that's the thing. The difference between
that's really it.
The difference between NBA, NHL, and in the NFL is that you got to win one game once you get there, and then you got to win one more. You don't have to win a series best of 7. And it's the thing that we love so much about the NFL playoffs is that any given Sunday, they say that for a reason, right? Like any team can win at any time.
The Chargers-Jaguars game, I think, was a good example. This last year was a little bit tilted, but Kansas City or Cincinnati going in and beating Buffalo on the road, I think, was another reminder. What the Bengals did the year before was pretty tremendous. So I think so. I think it provides some, that one and done mentality. It's kind of like, you just have to be better on that day. It's not a series. It's not a lengthy process. The best team, in my opinion, doesn't always win. It's the best team that day that wins.
Yeah.
Versus something like the NBA playoffs or MLB playoffs, NHL playoffs, etc. It's a little bit different, in my opinion. So they just got to get there.
It's funny though, because I don't walk away from the NFL playoffs and think, oh man, that team got lucky and won it. They weren't the best team, but they won it. Most of the time, if you beat the guys in front of you, there's not that same, because I guess comparing NBA, since we were just there, there's this talk about did you take the hardest path? Whatever. Did you play the guys you were supposed to play? Were you the best team overall? You're thinking at like a 7-game series, if you dominate that, then you should be considered the best team. Doesn't always work that way, but I feel like in the NFL, for whatever reason, you can beat a team once and advance and win a Super Bowl, even if they were the favorite team, and no one really says, "Oh, you got lucky," or "You were the best team." I mean, maybe fan bases independently say that, but the narrative isn't like, "Oh, this team got lucked into a Super Bowl." So it's an interesting, juxtaposition as far as that
Yeah,
goes.
it's not getting to the Super Bowl. I think is different because you have to get a run. I don't know that the Jaguars were better than the Chargers.
Right.
Right. Like, I don't know that in terms of record wise, right? Like all that stuff. However, Jacksonville played better that day in the end. And that's really all that you can go off of. So I just like you have a chance that day. First, you have to string multiple games together. Right. Like, it's not when Minnesota got the one game against the Nuggets, there wasn't a feel like they can go get all 4. Right. Or same thing with the Heat. Like, when they're down 3-1, like, do you really feel like they can get off? Like, no. But if it was, hey, do you think they can get one more? Like, yeah, I mean, they could. Sure. And if it all rested on that game, I don't think any of us would have felt like, yeah, Miami's the better team. Like, they won that day.
Right.
So,
no, it's true. It's true. Well, thank you everyone for listening today. We went on some rabbit trails. We went on some tangents. I got a little in my feels at times, so I apologize. But good content nonetheless. Talking Broncos, can't ever go wrong. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate you. We're going to head out. But make sure you check out our social media pages at orange_and_brew on Twitter is where we're most active. As long as that website remains up and functional, then we will be posting there. We also have an at orange_and_brew on Instagram. We're trying to do better with that. Keep an eye out though, at least follow us so you get those alerts when we post something. And we're going to transition out, but thank you so much. We appreciate you. Be kind to one another, be safe out there, and go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.